whatever, just to sit there and make it therapy. Then as the time went on and it was like 2022 hit, God was like, hey, why don't you take something a little serious and start, drawing your feelings? And I thought I was drawing my feelings. He was like, no, you're not. I said, yes, I am. So I ended up creating some different pieces towards the end of 2022. And God said, see what you did? Now let's sit here and get ready and let's see what 2023 brings. So I said, okay. So in 2023, God said, I need you to get naked with me. I said, get naked. He said, yes, I need you to put everything that you have been going through on canvas. Everything that you have experienced from childhood to adulthood, teenager, everything. Bring your two personalities together and create something. So I created this series called the Blackout Series, which is basically a very naked series that explores the deep emotions of my life, such as being molested and the generational curses of being molested from my mother to my grandmother, and that transitioning into myself as well. Then having to sit there and also explain my healing process through this series, because it's like, can't sit here and speak about the negative, but not also speak about the positive. So going through this, it was like, okay, having to heal myself, but also having to heal the relationship with my mom and myself. So that's where A Mother's Love came into play. A Mother's Love is mainly about basically embracing and just letting go the negative that you could have went through.
Yes.
But embracing the positive of now.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, if you give up, there's no promise for tomorrow. So holding on to the past is not going to allow your present and your future to basically blossom. So that's why I created this piece. And then if we go around the corner to my second piece, which is going to be called Guardian Angel. This piece is basically a piece to represent when my car accident happened. At this point in time, I usually like to sit in my car and just relax. Well, especially when I go over to my friend's house, I usually just sit in her house and just clean out my car or just wait till she comes to the front door. Instead, something was like, hey, get up. I need you to get out of this car. And it was like, what? It was like, just get up, get out. And I'm like, okay. So it was like, I got out of the car, went into the house. 5 minutes later, my car was totaled. The car, it was literally to the point where when I came out of the house, my car wasn't in front of the house anymore. So instead of turning to where everybody was looking, which was to the right, I turned to the left. The grass was on fire, and it was like, wow, what happened? Okay. So then I turned to the right, and I'm like, wow. It was practically my back seat. My trunk was into my back seat, and my back seat was almost into my front seat. My airbag was not deployed in the driver's seat. So I don't know what could have happened to me at that point in time. So I went through every emotion. I still have PTSD from that, to the point where sometimes I can't drive at certain times. Then other times I don't like to drive at night because of fear. And then other times I just sometimes smell the burning grass and then can still see the image of my car, and it's just like, wow. That's my guardian angel at the end of the day took me out of this car and saved my life in so many ways. So I went through a lot of survivor remorse. It was like that guilt of like, I'm happy I'm here, but why am I here? So that's where I ended up starting to branch out with my work and starting to create art that shows positivity and reflect on who I want to be and not who I was. But also using who I was as a testimony to basically show like, you can be this person, but you can grow up and blossom into this other person. So it's just one of those ways that my art is a way of my life and my story and what I will basically go through on a day-to-day, year-to-year, month-to-month, maybe second to second. Because from a lot of things, like I have anxiety. I was diagnosed with anxiety when I was 16, but I have it even worse now because of my car accident. I have insomnia, so sometimes I can't sleep at night because of when I hear certain sounds. It could be silent outside, but I can hear a big boom and think that it's my car or something is going on. So it's just one of those things of using my art as my therapy, and as my therapy is expressing who I am and basically allowing people into my life, into my story of Jennifer Christine Maples. And that is all.
Yes. I have a question for you.
Yes.
So, thank you. First, I want to say thank you because I think you're so courageous to share your story, your testimony, because you've been through a lot. And to look at you, I would never know unless you had shared that. So, first, I want to say thank you because I know that someone else who hears your story is going to be changed by it. And my question to you is, when your counselor asked you what was it outside of therapy that helped you, and you turned to your artwork, was that something that you turned to as a child when you were going through those traumatic experiences? Was art always something that you could turn to as a way of healing?
Yes, actually it was. Either it was kind of like a mixture of art and music, which is why a lot of my work, when I listen to music, I'll listen to certain kinds of music because I love to. It's like an escape. Being a Pisces, being a February Pisces, we're dreamy. We love to escape the reality of what sometimes the world is presenting us, and that's what my artwork is for me. It's like a meditation for me to escape into a whole different type of, and basically into my world, to my happy place. So it's like when I'm creating, it's like don't come and distract me, because it's like it's like a lot can be going on. I can having a cry session on the inside. I can be having a happy moment on the inside. Sometimes it will reflect on the outside because you'll probably see the tears as I'm painting, or you might see me just sitting there smiling and just like dancing. But it's really like a therapy session of me versus me, where I'm even doing like shadow work, where it's like, hey, remember this back in the day, or this situation that happened when you were 12? Let's talk about this. Let's just see, why are we still holding on feelings to this, and why are we still like haven't released that? Or remember when you were 25, this happened, or remember when 2 weeks ago, this happened. It's like a therapy session within a therapy session. And sometimes it can go into a deep meditation where when I'm finally done, I will look at what I have created and like, did I do this? Or who created this? Because it's like, I have gone so deep into thought that my mind is just, it's like I'm on autopilot. It's just like, hey, let's just paint, let's just go. And it's like, when I'm done, it's like my spirit it's like God has this connection with my spirit, which is like, all right, we're done. And it's like, when I come out of that whole meditation, it's like, what? And it's like, I created this is beautiful. I put my hands on this. And so it's one of those great feelings, like, it is, because it's like tapping back into my inner child, who is roughly around 5 to 10 years old, and then also allowing my other personality, Jen, to just be able to explore the details, because she's going to basically be my more teenager to early 20s. So she's kind of like the party girl personality, like we're here to have fun, whereas Then you have the third personality, Jennifer, that's going to be me, that's going to always be the presentation of, hey, this is what the work is about. Because when it comes to Christine, I don't think you guys want to see a tantrum little kid coming out, because like that's her, that's who my inner child is. It's like we're having fun. This is playtime. And that's why when it comes to a lot of my work, she creates a lot of my playful, like sketchy graffiti type backgrounds where it's like very colorful or very abstractish, because that's more of like the kid play of, hey, I just want to sit here and play and paint. I don't want to do anything serious. Whereas Jen sits up and brings the piece to life, and it's like, that's the emotions, that's the therapy, that's the everything.
Thank you.
No problem.
Can I?
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear about your experiences with the above, with the creator, like in regards to like your artwork. What's and I ask particularly because I have my own. Are you open to sharing?
So when you say creator, like,
I feel like, well, I believe in God. Not everybody does, but I believe that even when we don't believe in God, like many of us believe in something bigger.
yeah.
Something that like drives us, guides us, something that we just don't understand, but we know that it exists. So I'm curious to like hear about your experiences with that, with the divine.
So I do believe in God. And at the end of the day, I believe He guides a lot of my work. Because when I was trying to sit there and maneuver my own way, it was one of those things where I ran into a lot of brick walls. And it was one of those things I pray, but I don't pray every day. But my prayer is more of a conversation. It's like me sitting up here, if I get like after we're done, I might go sit in my car and say, thank you, God. And might have a couple of tears, and that's my conversation, because that's enough. Whereas some people will go and have a full, dear God, and that's your way with God, that's your conversation. Mine is more so, I talk to Him how I talk to my friends. Not, it's like, hey, I'm going through it, like, what do we need to do? And at first, I was praying wrong. I was asking God, like, hey, can we get this opportunity? Can we get that opportunity? Instead of saying, hey, where do you want me to go next? How can you use me, and what's our next project to work on? And right now, let's just say He has me in a standstill because He wants me to finish up and learn learn a lot of different things that I'm learning right now. And everything is like a step. How I may sit there and want to sit there and be like, I want to jump over here and be right here right now because I feel like my work should be like up here. And it's like God say, no. I need you to learn this step, this step, this step, because these steps are going to help build you as a stronger artist. So when you are blessed with just overflowing like blessings, like you're just being like it's not a problem. You're not gonna have anxiety and sit there and be like, oh my God, I can't take this, it's too much. You're not gonna feel overwhelmed. It's not gonna be too much. It's gonna be like, all right, this is what you sent. Come on, send some more. Like, because in the blessings, there's always challenges. And a lot of people don't think about that. They're always just like, oh, this didn't work out. God, it's always a blame to God when something doesn't work out. But then it's like, where's His praise when something does work out? And at the end of the day, I tell people when it comes to, especially like my work, I'm not about the money, because God is going to take care of me at the end of the day. I am here to share my story, share my testimony, and reach the people that I'm supposed to reach, and help inspire those to share their story. So it's one of those things where I've asked God, especially back in 2020 when I did a fast. I asked God, I said, hey, use me as a vessel, what we're going to do here. And I didn't understand what I was praying for at first, but I said, I understand now. I understand the power of the word, the power of the mouth. the power of the words that we speak are very strong. And so that's why I continue to ask God to just use me instead of asking him to sit there and like, hey, I need all of this money, or I need this house, or I need this car. Because those material things are going to come and go. And that's what I learned with my car accident is I had got this wonderful job working at UWM. Thinking I'm doing something great. Just got a new car as well. Thinking I'm doing something even magnificent. Guess what? Made my second car note payment on that car, and then God said, swipe. He said, you didn't value this car. You didn't value what you had for real, because you were thinking like, oh, you were big time because you have this beautiful car, you have this new job, and you have all these wonderful things going for you. Let me take basically your livelihood away from you. Because my car was my everything. My car is my transportation to get to here, to here, to here. So then I said, okay, that's not me not learning from that first car. That was a lesson. God said, okay, so the second car that I was driving, which was my mom's car, it got stolen. God said, sit down, wait, be patient. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm trying to sit up here and get my life together. And it was like, with time, that's when God sat there and sent me to therapy. And it was like, after going through therapy, because I told my mom, I said, after meeting with the psychiatrist, I said, I don't want to go and see another psychiatrist because I was judged. He was an older white male who basically wanted to sit here and judge me on smoking and my past life, and not wanting to actually diagnose why I'm not eating, what happened just happened after my car accident, why I'm not sleeping, none of that. So my mom said, what type of therapist do you want to go see? I said, give me an older black woman who has been through something in life and that is going to be, she doesn't have to be about the Bible or be godly or anything. I just give me an older black woman. The therapist that I was given, she came to me the same thing. She was like, do you believe in God? And I said, yes. She was like, okay. And she gave me tools to use. And I said, okay. I said, you are right. I said, you were the one that God wanted me to sit here and talk to, and he placed in my life. He placed you in my life. So it's like, okay, let me listen to you, because this is what I asked for. I got what I received. God said, here you go. And since then, I've just been on that same journey of kind of keeping myself grounded and reminding myself. So it's like, even like with my bracelet, I keep this as a reminder and keep it facing towards myself versus others. It's the reminder of what would Jesus do. So even though my flesh will sometimes, overcome, I still will scale back, and it's like a reminder of, hey, is this godly? And it's not saying that I have to live by the Bible or be as God, but it's like, treat people a certain way. Because don't go in, just because you see someone else in the streets being mean or being rude, don't treat them with the same type of energy, because that's going to take away from who I am. If anything, just walk away, or, kindly just help them in another way, because maybe their spirit needs a little bit of love. And that's all some people need is love these days.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I mean, I would love to talk about psychology. I've gone to therapy for like 10 years, and so.
Oh, psychology, that's a whole conversation. I graduated in 2009. I took two psychology classes while I was in high school, and then my major was in psychology at Wayne State with a minor in criminal justice. Wanted to actually go into child psychology. Decided that my personality at that point in time was not for that field, because I couldn't take sitting down with kids and hearing some of the stories, and then also having to do some of the labs that we had to do, the experiments that had to do with kids and violent cartoons, or when does the violence really start in a child? And having to go through some of just the basics of that, I said, I can't, this is not my field. If I want to go and basically that route of psychology with kids, let's just go a different route, which is why I have basically created my art to kind of like surround my inner child, to kind of push for the kids, to say, hey, like, you don't have to be a product of your environment. You can actually go out here and be whatever you want to be. Just it doesn't matter if you grew up on the east side of Detroit, west side of Detroit, southwest, wherever. It's one of those things where you don't have to be the product of that. Just because the burbs are being taught this way or being given this type of education, it's one of those things where use that as a fire to fight for what it is that you want. Because psychologically, a lot of kids are struggling right now because of social media. And there's really not a lot of positivity, because you have now not only entertainers, but you have influencers. So with these influencers, it's like they're going to influence the kids that, oh, you gotta have iced out chains, you gotta have all this moolah and money and all these materialistic items. What is that doing for you but getting you robbed or possibly killed? It's not doing anything for your spirit, for real, because you're having to now keep up with the Joneses, and it's like, at the end of the day, is that making you happy? And so a lot of kids, they're gonna grow up, like, I'll say in the next maybe 5 to 10 years, and a lot of them are gonna need a therapist or need to go, like, see someone, because mentally they're going to be like, I thought that, life was like this. And it's not. It's not all you have to have these nice things. You can live an average Joe life and still be, I guess, fly. But today's kids. But that's my take. I just my art is to kind of like go off of the whole therapy, psychology field, and to kind of like give kids a different view of how to heal. It doesn't always have to be with sitting down with someone. You can actually use art as a therapy to channel energy, especially negative energy, or escape. I love to use it as an escape. So it can be a great scapegoat. It's just one of those things where that's also what therapists and psychologists need to kind of also teach as well. But that's why I do love the new age. Because some are actually being like a little transparent, because you actually have some programs that are now introducing, like I think Wayne State has the art therapy program. So kind of like, go back and forth for you too. But I said we can talk about that all day.
Okay, I have one more question.
Go ahead.
And then I think that'll be my questions. Self-portraits. I have never done a self-portrait per se in painting or drawing, but I've done self-portraits in photography, and I feel like when I analyze my work, when I look at my own portraiture of myself, I see that I'm never exactly one single image, but rather like a variety of images. And so I especially like a variety of images that sort of represent these different, I don't necessarily know that archetypes are the word, but rather emotions, which is back to the beginning. So for me, I know that I don't necessarily know what a self-portrait would look like for me. I'm curious, knowing yourself the way that you do, if you have an idea of what a self-portrait looks like for you, and or if you've already done one.
So I did a self-portrait of myself, like an actual face detail, and that was in 2023. That went with my series, The Blackout. Ever since then, I haven't done a self-portrait, only because when it comes to that, I actually like to draw myself more abstract. And reason being is because of my personalities. Because I realized when I did the self-portrait, I only drew one person. And that was the person that we see. and like how you said you see multiple images of yourself, that's kind of how I see myself, because even when I look at pictures of different, like when I take pictures with people or just someone takes a picture of myself, I'm like, oh, that's who was at that party. Because it's just one of those things where you will catch my personalities. I allowed them to just roam free instead of trying to mask them and control them. So I can be out in public 1 minute, literally be Jen 1 minute and fake, happy, fun, giddy. Next minute, I can 2 seconds literally can be my other personality, which is Christine, which is my inner child, and have the I'm ready to go face. Let's go. Then it's like if I run into just having like somebody like, hey, aren't you an artist? It's like, okay, we gotta sit here and now like, whoop, yes I am, da 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 da. So it's one of those things where when I did that portrait in 2023, it was just like, I like it, but it didn't really fit me. Whereas now, if I did a self-portrait again, it would. I actually have been thinking about doing another self-portrait. Is how I would want to do it. It's kind of wild, but it's like basically expressing all 3 personalities within one portrait, and it's like having one head go this way, the main face go this way, and then the other face go this way, and it's just because that's just my personality. That's just who you. Sometimes you may never know who you're gonna get. I mean, if you follow my personality, you will. Sometimes it's just like you said, multiple images, and so now when I do other people, when I have to do like portraits in general, I do love to just do like a little abstract here, but it's mainly when it comes to myself, I'm still working on that one. But when it comes to my art in general, I do love to incorporate my hair, my glasses, my freckles, nose, whatever it is. Sometimes just to kind of like add that piece of me, but still working on that self-portrait part.
Okay, one final thing.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, I'm fine.
Do you have elements that represent? Do you have symbols? Rather, that is the actual question, and this is symbols in the way that, for example, Carl Jung would describe them. Do you have symbols that represent your personalities, or that are representative of your personality?
In my art, I would say yes. So a lot of my work currently represents a lot of my tattoos, or kind of like who I am and who I'm evolving to. Like a lot of my work, I will add butterflies, which is to represent my rebirth that I have done. Because even when it comes to my sleeve, this was kind of like my rebirth. Like how rappers, R&B artists will have like that rebirth album where it's like they go through so much in life and they're like, I need that transition. And that's basically what my sleeve was dedicated to. And that's why when it comes to a lot of my work, I will put butterflies and flowers, because butterflies and flowers represent rebirth, happiness, purity, and just positivity overall. And that's a lot of what my work is to represent, because that's a representation of myself, which is why also I love to wear a lot of stuff that, even graphic tees, flowers, to represent happiness. Even if I'm having like a down day, something happy, bright colors. I usually have on some funky socks, but not today, it's a little hot outside. But my bright funky socks represent my funky personality. But it also goes into my artwork as well, where my colors are very vibrant, to the point where my colors are actually kind of like custom to a degree. I will mix up a lot of my older paints, like if I'm running out of a certain color, mix it up into another vibrant color. So it's like when I paint it, it's like, oh, that's beautiful. Didn't realize that that's what the color was going to dry into, but hey. So it's one of those things where you can kind of tell my artwork between me in a lot of ways. Thank you. Anybody else?
This has been wonderful, and thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much. Was there anything that you wanted to add that maybe no one asked you, but that you want to share before we close out?
I'm a muralist now. That's about it.
Yeah.
So at first, I with my title, I gave myself as a visual artist, and I have been fighting to become a muralist. Basically, like put murals on walls and everything. I finally received my opportunity, and finally have, instead of going from one mural, actually went from 0 murals to 3. So I have 3 projects that I'm working on currently. Just finished up one on Tuesday, and so just one of those things where kind of like expanding my artistry out. So it's a blessing. It's a beautiful thing, and this is also what I mean by like the levels and steps with God, because at first when I got started, I was selling my art as a vendor, going to the Eastern market and different vendor events and just selling my art, to telling myself like, hey, I don't want a nickel and dime. Like, I want to make some work that's going to make something that's going to actually last, but that I can actually live off of too.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just one of those things where God said, if you want to go to the next level and start going to galleries and exhibits, it's like, hey, you got to put your heart and soul into it. So it's just like one of those things where I'm like, okay, started thinking about that and changing my story, and just like, hey, it's like, you gotta be naked, you gotta be honest, you gotta be open. And with doing that, started getting accepted to a lot of different exhibits, and it's like, I'm one of those that is never satisfied. I always want to level up or go after or be in the little fish in the big pool or the big pond with big fish until I become that big fish some kind of way. It like I'm never gonna sit there and say, oh, I'm bigger or better than this person, because I'm never that, but it's always kind of like a little competition with myself to always better myself. So it's like, I saw in my mind, it was like God placed in my heart, all right, this is what you should be doing. And I'm like, okay, let's do that. And then it's like, now God said, you got murals, so you made another step. And now it's like, well, my next step that I kind of want to make next is going to Paris with my work. So it's just one of those things of, I'm never satisfied, and the box that a lot of artists get placed in, I broke out of. The ceiling that a lot of people try to place over your head, I said, no, I'm breaking that as well. And it's one of those things where I feel like until God called me home, I'm trying to do any and everything. If I can go overseas with my work, I will. If I can sit there and put a mural on almost every building that I possibly can, from Michigan to Atlanta to Chicago, I will.
And hopefully soon you'll be putting a mural on our building here at BC Lane Goods.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.